everybody. Good morning. I just wanted to tell you happy Friday. Today is Show Your Burke County Spirit with your Burke County colors. So if you are wearing Burke County colors, feel free to drop a picture. The teachers are going on a teacher parade today, so look for cars honking and teachers screaming how much they miss you, because we do. We miss you a lot, and we hope to see you again soon. It's kind of unfortunate to hear the news yesterday that school was going to be canceled a couple more weeks, but look for some fun activities and things on our Facebook page. I'll try to keep you updated. Today we had our first Zoom meeting, and thank you Leslie and Nora and Lorenzo for showing up for that. That was a lot of fun. They got to see each other and talk and interact with one another. We're hopefully going to do another Zoom meeting maybe a little later in that day, so that if your parent still works, that you still can join. So be on the lookout for that information as well. Today, the kids on Zoom decided that we should read Paddington. So today I'll read for you the book Paddington. This is the front cover, the back cover, the top, the bottom, the spine because you can't see the pages, and this is the side because you can see the pages. Let's find the title page. This is the title. The title is what the story is called. The author writes the words, the illustrator draws the pictures, and the publisher makes the book so we can buy them. Our book today is called Paddington, the original story of the bear from Peru. I'm going to hold it like this and read it, and then I'll show you the pictures because there's lots of words in this book. Mr. and Mrs. Brown first met Paddington on a railway platform. In fact, that was how he came to have such an unusual name for a bear, because Paddington was the name of the station. The Browns were waiting to meet their daughter Judy, and when Mr. Brown noticed something small and furry near the left luggage office, "It looks like a bear," he said. "A bear?" repeated Miss Brown. "On Paddington Station? Don't be silly, Henry. That can't be." But Mr. Brown was right. It was sitting on an old leather suitcase marked "Wanted on Voyage," and as they drew near, it stood up and politely raised its hat. Good afternoon," it said. "May I help you?" "It is very kind of you," said Mr. Brown, "but as a matter of fact, we're wondering if we could help you." "You're a very small bear," said Miss Brown. "Where are you from?" The bear looked around carefully before replying. "Darkest Peru. I'm not really supposed to be here at all. I'm a stowaway." Peru is another country, and a stowaway is what happens when you get on a plane or a boat or a car that you're not supposed to be in and you hide. It's not a very good idea. "You don't mean to say you've come all the way from South America on your own," exclaimed Miss Brown. "Whatever did you do for food?" Unlocking the suitcase, the bear took out an almost empty glass jar. "I ate marmalade," it said. "Bears like marmalade." Marmalade is kind of like jam. Miss Brown looked at the label around the bear's neck. It said, quite simply, "Please look after this bear. Thank you." "Oh, Henry," she cried, "we can't leave him here all by himself. There's no knowing what might happen to him. Can't he come home and stay with us?" "Stay with us?" repeated Mr. Brown nervously. He looked down at the bear. Would you like that?" he asked. "That is," he added hastily, "if you have nothing else planned." "Oh, yes," replied the bear. "I would like that very much. I've nowhere to go, and everyone else seems in such a hurry." "That settles it," said Miss Brown. "Now you must be thirsty after your journey. Mr. Brown, can you get some tea while I go to meet our daughter Judy?" "But Mary," said Mr. Brown, "we don't even know its name." Miss Brown thought for a moment. "I know," she said. "We'll call him Paddington, after the station." Paddington. The bear tested it several times to make sure. "It sounds very important." Mr. Brown tried it out next. "Follow me, Paddington," he said. "I'll take you to the snack bar." Mr. Brown was as good as his word. Paddington had never seen so many snacks on one tray, and he didn't even know which one to try first. He was so hungry and thirsty he climbed up on the table to get a better look. Mr. Brown turned away, pretending he had tea with a bear on Paddington Station every day of his life. "Henry," cried Miss Brown when she arrived with Judy, "what are you doing to that poor bear?" Paddington jumped up to raise his hat, and in haste he trod on a strawberry tart, skidded on the cream, and fell over backwards into his cup of tea. "I think we better go before anything else happens," said Mr. Brown. Judy took hold of Paddington's paw. "Come along," she said. "We'll take you home, and you can meet Miss Bird and my brother Jonathan." Mr. Brown led the way to a waiting taxi. "Number 32 Windsor Gardens, please," he said. The driver stared at Paddington. "Bears is extra," he growled. "Sticky bears is twice as much. And make sure none of it comes off in my interior. It was clean when I set out this morning." He's sticky from all the tarts he spilled on himself. The sun was shining as they drove out of the station, and there were cars and big red buses everywhere. Paddington waved to some people waiting at a bus stop, and several of them waved back. It was all very friendly. Paddington tapped the taxi driver on his shoulder. "It isn't a bit like Darky's Peru," he announced. The man jumped at the sound in Paddington's voice. "Cream," he said bitterly. "Cream and jam all over my coat." He slid the little window behind him shut. "Oh dear, Henry," murmured Miss Brown. "I wonder if we're doing the right thing." Fortunately, before anyone had time to answer, they arrived at Windsor Gardens, and Judy helped Paddington on the pavement. "Now you're going to meet Miss Bird," she said. "She looks after us. She's a bit fierce at times, but she doesn't really mean it. I'm sure you'll like her." Paddington felt his knees begin to wobble. "I'm sure I shall if you say so," he replied. "The thing is, will she like me?" There they are, peeking out the window. "Goodness gracious!" exclaimed Miss Bird. "What have you got there?" "It's not a what," said Judy. "It's a bear called Paddington, and he has come to stay with us." "A bear?" said Miss Bird, as Paddington raised his hat. "Well, he has good manners, I'll say that for him." "I'm afraid I stepped on a jam tart by mistake," said Paddington. "I can see that," said Miss Bird. "You better have a bath before you're very much older. Judy can turn it on for you. I dare say you'll be wanting some marmalade, too." "I think she likes you," whispered Judy. Paddington had never been in a bathroom before, and while the water was running, he made himself at home. First of all, he tried writing his name in the steam on the mirror, and then he used Mr. Brown's shaving foam to draw a map of Peru on the floor, and it wasn't until a drip landed on his head that he remembered what he was supposed to be doing. He soon discovered that getting into the bath is one thing, but it's quite another matter getting out again, especially when it's full of soapy water. He's a very curious bear. Paddington tried calling out, "Help!" at first in a quiet voice, so as not to disturb anyone, and then very loudly, "Help! Help!" And when that didn't work, he began bailing the water out with his hat. But the hat had several holes in it, and his maparoo soon turned into a sea of foam, and suddenly Jonathan and Judy burst in the bathroom and left a dripping Paddington on the floor. "Thank goodness you're all right," cried Judy. "We heard you calling out." "Fancy making such a mess," said Jonathan admiringly. "You should have pulled the plug out." "Oh," said Paddington, "I never thought of that." When Paddington came downstairs, he looked so clean no one could possibly be cross with him. His fur was all soft and silky, and his nose gleamed, and his paws had lost all the traces of jam and cream. The Browns made room for him in a small armchair, and Miss Bird brought out a pot of tea and a plate of hot buttered toast and marmalade. "Now," said Miss Brown, "you must tell us all about yourself. I'm sure you must have had lots of adventures." "I have," said Paddington earnestly. "Things are always happening to me. I'm just that sort of bear." He settled back in the armchair. "I was brought up by my Aunt Lucy in darkest Peru," he began, "but she had to go into a home for retired bears in Lima." He closed his eyes thoughtfully, and hush fell over the room as everyone waited expectantly. After a while, when nothing happened, they began to get restless. Mr. Brown tried coughing, and then he reached across and poked Paddington. "Well, I never," he said. "I do believe he's fast asleep." "And after all that's happened to him," said Miss Brown, "is it any wonder?" There he is, sleeping in the chair. The end. Boom, shakalaka. I hope you enjoyed the story today, and I hope to see you on the teacher parade at 1 o'clock. If you have any questions or concerns, please make sure you text me or send me a message and let me know. Call me, whatever it is you need to do. I'm here to video, chat, talk on the phone, text back and forth, whatever you need from me. Just let me know. If you need any more ideas to help learning, I would be more than happy to help with that too. And I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.